Our customers love the personalized attention that we give to you. Let us help you get to a better state by visiting our website at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The information on this program is intended to share the experiences others have had in battling addiction and to let you know there is hope to recover, no matter how bad things may seem. Please do not change any program you are on, especially if under medical supervision, without the approval of your doctor, counselor, or other professional treatment.
And good evening. Welcome to Recovering Hope. I almost forgot which program I'm doing. Some cool music from Joe's keyboard over there. Thank you, Joe. Like I said, this is Recovering Hope, and we are here to do our best to share with you the fact that regardless of how ugly a situation might seem or look or actually is in dealing with addiction, that there is hope for those that are addicted. We're coming up on 6 months now in this program, and we have spoken to a lot of people who, the majority of which have incredible stories of hope. And not that his position or fame means that much, but a couple of weeks ago we spoke with Dr. Art Kleinschmidt, and pretty much was out of school at like 8th grade. And yes, I said Dr. Art Kleinschmidt, who worked under the drug czar for the Trump administration, put himself through school, many degrees, 18 years clean and sober. I don't know how many people apparently or temporarily gave up on that man, but they don't have to be famous, spoken to many quote-unquote ordinary people, and who have kicked the habit. It's a tough habit to kick, but it is doable, ladies and gentlemen, so please don't give up. There are many resources on my website, which is recoveringhope.org, and there are also podcasts of all the previous episodes that we've done here, and a lot of good information. So please don't hesitate to look. If you think that something is awry in someone's behavior that is different and you suspect that it's drugs, please take some sort of action. I don't have any initials next to my name that would qualify me to professionally counsel you, but if I can't give you some good advice, I know I can give you some people who can give you some good professional advice. So that's my short intro, and my next short intro is going to be for this young lady sitting to my left here, Lillian Beecroft, who is, if you listen to this show and or watch this show, then you know Lillian. And Lillian is helping me to get this message out here about hope and helping me with my Facebook page. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Of course. It's definitely a great opportunity, and I'm excited to help you with your mission and just help our community here in Wilmington.
Yeah, that is the main thing. And you know, I was talking to somebody today. As a matter of fact, it was Pastor Mike from church, just saying how, you know, it means so much to me that others do not have to go through this alone. You know, when things started going south in my family, my wife and I felt very alone. As you know, we belong to a big church and, you know, lots of friends, and you just don't know who to talk to or where do you get advice from. And sometimes when I'm doing something new, I will try to, you know, I ask numerous people pretty much the same question. When you start getting some of those same answers, that's a good indication that might be the right path to choose. So give us a little information on how to properly share this information. And also, lest I forget, Saturday mornings, 11 a.m.
Yes, I am live on my very own show, Awaken to Greatness, on Saturdays at 11 a.m. We talk, educate, encourage, and take action within our communities through politics, faith, and life. So I speak a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's great.
And so you can check me out there. And also now you can check out Recovering Hope radio show specifically. It has its own page now on Facebook.
Okay.
And you can find that by going to Facebook and going to @Recovering Hope Radio. And it should pop up right there.
Okay.
We encourage all of you. I know Mark already has a great following on his personal page, so please go like and just share, comment, and go to that new page because you will actually be able to find a lot of what's coming up next.
Yes.
We will also be putting conversations, discussions, a little bit more information, topics discussed on air will be put on the Facebook. So it's kind of just a great place to build community and really see the mission of Recovering Hope at work. And that also will go along with what we're doing on the website, the YouTube channel, and the podcast, because you've got a lot going already.
I do. I have so much going, but I feel like a juggler that doesn't really know how to handle those things that he's juggling so well. So
That's what I'm here for.
I need your help, and I very much appreciate it. I remember when I heard your first show, I think it was back in December, was it? I said, oh, wow. Yeah, young girl, graduating college.
Yes.
When is that?
May.
May.
So one more month, and I'm
more
done.
month.
Actually, 1 month exactly, and I'm done.
And your degree is?
Communications with a minor in business.
Very good.
And it's my second degree.
And you're
so,
already putting it to good use.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
excited.
that's impressive, and I really appreciate, what you're doing for the community and your help here. And I'm kind of a slow learner with this Facebook stuff. You probably figured that out already. But the most important thing, and folks that are listening, and I know that you know this, Lillian, I believe this information is so crucial for people to know, to share it. Everybody kind of knows somebody that has either fallen to addiction or, this is just a little aside. Today I had the dryer repaired at our recovery residence, Prodigal Recovery, and we used Mr. Appliance. Mr. Appliance showed up on time, diagnosed the problem, took care of it. Don't let the socks go into the exhaust line or something like that. Okay, that's
don't
just
want that to happen.
It's just a tip that that Brad gave me, and he actually was very appreciative of what we're doing at the recovery home. This radio program, he says he's in his truck from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and he listens to a lot of talk radio. I said, "Oh, you listen to the Big Talker?" So of course, and he knows the show. And as we talked a little bit more, he shared the fact that he lost a brother. I think it was about 20 years ago. How long ago is somewhat irrelevant. But, and as I mentioned to him, I said, it used to be that everybody knows somebody, whether it's once removed or something, that has struggled with drug addiction. But now, as my friend Wayne Ray would say, now almost everybody knows somebody that died from addiction.
Yes.
And that's what we're here to do our best to minimize those statistics. And I don't think we'll ever eliminate them, just being a realist here. But and I have to give out Mr. Appliance's number. It's 796-1118. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate your help. And this evening, we are going to hear from, you must have seen it on the Facebook page, Virginia Krieger. Virginia is, she works hand in hand very much with last week's guest, Michael Gray. And both of them are very, very thorough in informing us in all of the work that they do. I don't know how much time they put into this of what we refer to as the new paradigm. But before I get into Virginia's topic this evening, I want to share a little bit that our friend Ed Bish was sharing with me. Ed is also one of those people that are on the front lines of fighting this pandemic. And I was hoping to have time to call Ed, but I'm sorry that I don't. But he said, if you can't talk to me, then please read this. He said, please go to the Take Action page on sackleract.org, SACKLER, act.org, where in 4 minutes you can provide your information and a letter will be sent to your elected officials. This is the only way to stop the Purdue farmer bankruptcy scam. And I don't have time to get into all of the information, but that's what this is. It's a scam, and these people need to pay for the damage that has been done to the best that they can. The lives that have been lost, not going to bring those back, but there's a lot of reparation that needs to be done. And another point from him is the FDA update is 7 senators have sent a letter to President Biden opposing Janet Woodcock for her role in the opioid epidemic. For more information on either subject, please visit my timeline on Facebook, Ed Bish, B-I-S-C-H. And unfortunately, Ed lost a son, Ed Jr., I think it was about 20 years ago. And ever since then, like a lot of other people, have been diligently at work to minimize the pain and damage that is being done to others. So I'm just going to read a quick paragraph here on a little bit of background on Virginia. We'll take a little break, and then we'll get her on the line. This is Virginia Krieger. Parents Against Illicit Narcotics is an affiliate of the Fentanyl Awareness Coalition. As its founder, Virginia also serves on the executive board of directors for the Fentanyl Awareness Coalition, a new organization razor-focused on the illicit fentanyl epidemic in the United States and the rise of synthetic analogs affecting people from all populations and social classes. So please stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to get some good information here on this new paradigm. We'll be right back. Chris Baines and his team at Coldwell Banker Seacoast Advantage have been helping folks buy and sell homes and land in the area for over 20 years. With the support of a team, their clients enjoy the highest levels of success, communication, and protection. The sellers will have their properties exposed to the most people to ensure the highest sales price. The marketing they use is designed to thoroughly expose the property with virtual walkthroughs and aerial drone shots. All of this is done for maximum exposure, but to also reduce the in-person traffic in these times of COVID. Home purchasers will have an attentive agent that focuses on their needs and helps locate properties quickly to avoid missing out, as we are in such a hot market right now. Additionally, they represent buyers that decide to purchase new construction, as the on-site agents represent the builder. Chris Baines and his team know how to listen and, just as importantly, know how to negotiate for the best interests of their clients. With a consultative approach, you can be sure they will look out for the best interests of their clients, or why the vast majority of their business comes from past clients and their referrals. Check out their reviews on Zillow, Google, and Facebook. You can reach their team at 910-333-2300 or check out their website at wilmingtonarearealestate.com. Besides my involvement in Prodigal Recovery, I'm also in the construction business. I say that to say this. When we have tropical storms or hurricanes, the real hard, difficult, expensive, and dangerous work is usually the result of trees falling on homes or other personal property. Hurricane season is not the only time to get prepared for this. As a matter of fact, it's before and after hurricane season that you need to get prepared. My son Chris started his tree business called Climb Pro Expert Tree Care after Hurricane Florence. Chris has all the equipment and manpower to take on even the most challenging jobs. With over 20 years of combined experience, Climb Pro LLC can safely remove any unwanted hazardous trees from your property. They also offer tree pruning, elevation, deadwood removal, and other expert tree care services. Don't wait until you have a tree emergency. Visit climbpro.com, that's climb with a K. Check them out on Facebook or call Chris Marcley at 910-540-5249. Mention this ad for a 10% discount. And welcome back to Recovering Hope. My name is Mark Marcley, and it's a pleasure to be here this evening. Glad you could join us. In case you missed it at the open, we are here to share the fact that there is hope in recovery from drug addiction. And although the topic this evening is not drug addiction, it is awareness to a very, very serious part of this pandemic. Hello, Virginia.
Well, hello, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been a long time waiting, but I'm so glad that we could finally make this happen. I did get your outline. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to go through the whole thing. I kind of browsed it, earlier, but there's plenty to talk about here. I read your intro that you wrote at the top there, and that certainly explains the direction that we're going. And I see that, the first subtitle here, if you will, or the first part of this outline is the new paradigm, which I briefly explained, but why don't you give it to us in your words? Well, before that, Virginia, take a couple of minutes and tell us what got you into this.
Well, I was a mother of three, very healthy, well-adjusted young adults. In 2014, my daughter, Tiffany, came into contact. She had suffered a fall and herniated 3 lumbar discs in her lumbar spine.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiffany did exactly what any normal person would do. She went to the emergency room, then she went to her physician. She was referred out from her physician to a neurosurgeon and also to the pain clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where things had changed. After the news of the opioid epidemic broke, the first wave of attacks were directed at physicians. And of course, we all know that there were pill-mill physicians out there
Right.
who were writing prescriptions like candy. But the majority of legitimate physicians were not doing that. But because of legislative actions dictating patient care, physicians were really fearful to prescribe any narcotics. And so I guess it's always feast or famine.
Yeah.
And what happened in her case was the doctors, they recommended Tylenol, and we're not going to write you anything until you see the pain clinic.
Wow.
And so we had all these patients at once here in Ohio being shoved into pain clinics. The appointments were weeks to months away. In Tiffany's case, it was 8 weeks.
Oh, my God.
And so she was really backed into a corner. She has 2 young children at home. She's in a great deal of pain. What can I do? So someone offered her what she thought was a Percocet. And it looks like a Percocet. And so there was no reason for her to suspect otherwise.
Yeah.
And it was fentanyl, and it claimed her life.
Wow. Now, was it pure fentanyl or Percocet with fentanyl? Do you know? Or, I don't know if it really
There
matters.
was no Percocet in it whatsoever. It was fentanyl. And what was interesting was knowing her as I did. She would have been the one to have gone to one of those websites to look it up and do the pill identification.
Right.
And in this atmosphere, it doesn't matter because they look so closely like the real thing that sometimes even experts have a difficult time telling them apart. So, so those are kind of adding an extra level of dimension to this, which isn't helpful because of this new problem.
Right.
And that's really what it is. That's why we call it a new paradigm. It's a new problem that we've never had before. And new problems require new responses.
Yes.
So after this happened to her, of course, it just devastated my family. And my youngest son, who also never had any problems with drugs at all, he became so lost in his grief that he started to use meth to feel better.
Oh, wow.
And he thought, well, it's the opposite. It's meth. It's not heroin or an opiate or anything like that. It's definitely not fentanyl, so it can't hurt me. Yeah, well, he was wrong because in October he came into meth that contained acetylfentanyl.
Oh, wow.
And he nearly died.
Oh, wow.
Himself. They administered Narcan 7 or 8 times in the ambulance on the way to the emergency room. And he was in the ICU on an IV drip for over 8 hours until it had left his system. But the problem was that as soon as the Narcan would start to wear off, the fentanyl would come just raging right back.
Wow.
So it wasn't fully reversing the effect. And we're getting reports of that everywhere. And so
Wow.
And that puts us in a really critical phase, because how good is Narcan going to be with something like that?
Right.
And I apologize for that beep that just came through, if you could hear it. I'm going to turn that off right now.
No, I didn't hear it on my end.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So we really entered a new dimension. And so after this happened to her, at first I wanted to find out why, how it happened, where did it come from, how did it get to her in Ohio. And so that set me on this journey that has now brought me into having this nonprofit organization to try to make a positive impact and do vast public awareness campaigns, and then brought me together with Michael Gray and the Fentanyl Awareness Coalition. And so that's where we are today.
Yeah, you're both doing amazing work. I don't know how much time you put into it. I know Michael also runs a substantial business, and I'm not sure what else you do, but it doesn't matter. The amount of effort and work that you're doing, it's saving lives, even though you and I might not know that directly, and maybe you do. I think Michael mentioned something last week that someone did acknowledge that information actually saved at least one person's life. I'm sure it's many more.
I've actually had 2 or 3 of those. I've been doing this since roughly 2017, and
oh wow,
and yeah, I've had a couple of people come back to me. In one case, it was an active poisoning, and they didn't even hesitate to make the phone call that was necessary to save someone's life, and that was such a blessing to hear.
Excellent.
But you keep seeing the numbers go up, and at times, you just have to just give it to God and just pray about it, because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, there is.
And you feel like you're really not doing anything when the numbers just keep going up and up and up. But we're really hoping that by getting, the message out there in a more broad fashion and reaching more people, that we can get these warnings out so that at least people are aware that it's out there.
Yes. And there's something that's in the works. I'm not at liberty to say, but one of my fairly recent interviewees, if that's, I guess I'm the interviewer, they're the interviewee, has got something going on that he asked me not to mention, but it's pretty big. And I don't think it's a result of this program, but I think that this program may have brought some things to light that he may or may not have otherwise thought of. But I don't care. I'm not looking to take any credit, but we don't know where the numbers would be if you weren't doing what you were doing. I only started this up. You guys deserve the bulk of the credit, if you will. And I know that's not why you're doing it. But imagine what it might be like if nobody did anything. And you throw something like COVID into the mix, which is, nobody knows what's going to happen or how to prepare for this mess. Seems like things are getting better with that, but the damage is still being done as a result of all of this seclusion and additional stress and anxiety that it has caused. And that's...
Well, yes. And, the thing that I guess is the most distressing of all is that there's been an effort for a very long time going on in this country to try to reduce stigma and to, start to humanize this issue, which it's a wonderful movement. There are a lot of really great people I know who are involved in it.
Yeah.
And what this did was they made so much progress, and then this giant monkey wrench gets thrown in the middle.
Yes.
Everything was moving along well. Things were starting to shift. And then, bam, in 2013, we get hit with illicit fentanyl.
Yeah.
And it was a complete game changer. And so now what we're doing is we're struggling to find how do we separate this from the mix?
Yeah.
And still continue on with those important programs while we're minimizing the impact of illicit fentanyl. And that's really the biggest challenge I think that we face right now. Is first of all accepting that this change has happened and how significant it really is.
Yeah.
And how do we maintain what we're trying to get done to humanize this issue while we're still protecting people from this deadly substance? So it's a really complex and challenging issue.
Yeah, there's something in your notes that I saw, and I don't want to move too far ahead, but it's under measuring the crisis that the drug-related deaths are more than double the CDC estimates. You expound on
That's
that a little
correct.
bit? Yeah. Boy,
Yes,
that's
there was
frightening.
a study that was released in February of 2020. It was conducted by Georgetown University and the University of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
What was interesting about this study is they went through 2016, and in 2016, the CDC reported 63,000 drug-related deaths. However, this study found 142,000.
Wow.
For 2016 alone.
Mm-hmm.
And what they uncovered was that the only deaths that were being counted in these measurements were the immediately found deaths. In other words, if it was instant, they were included. If it wasn't instant, and let's say the person ended up in a coma and they hung on in the coma for weeks, maybe got secondary pneumonia as a result. Even though the poisoning itself was the initial incident that brought them to die, it's not being counted. And this the same is true of deaths that are related to needle-borne hepatitis, HIV that are drug-related. None of those are being counted. And so what I've been trying to tell people about there are numerous challenges with the CDC. Which I had listed, under the current systems, as I mentioned, the only deaths are those immediately lost. But then the other crux of this is fentanyl doesn't have its own coding category.
Yeah,
it's
I see
in a
that.
mixed category with other drugs. So it's other synthetic drugs. And so it includes tramadol for one, or any other synthetic drugs that may be out there, which is really shocking when we have looked at the number of fentanyl toxicity deaths that have occurred over the past 8 years. We have medical examiners who automatically, when someone comes in the door who has a drug toxicity level that includes heroin, fentanyl, the mixture of both, maybe cocaine and fentanyl, meth and fentanyl, what they'll do is they will code that death automatically as someone with substance abuse issues.
Right.
And that's not always necessarily the case.
Right.
In my daughter's case, that wasn't, that wasn't the issue.
Right.
In my, a friend of ours, Ed Kobilis's son, that wasn't his issue. There are a number of people in this country who only occasionally might use what they think is a prescription pill, or they might use a non-lethal drug recreation on an occasional basis, but they don't become addicted.
Right, right.
And so before 2013, we never heard of those people.
Right.
They would maybe take an Adderall to get through exams, to study, and they would go on with their lives, and nothing bad happened.
Right.
And so we never heard of them. And now this is the newest group that is dying.
And what do you see from your research, Virginia? What do you see the numbers of deaths associated with fentanyl? Are you able to calculate that?
Well, if we used, and what I've done, and I've done it on our website, is the baseline for 2016 conservatively was approximately 389 deaths a day. So if we use that as a guideline, where from 2013 to present, we're at roughly about 900,000 drug-related deaths instead of the lower numbers, which would put us at about 500,000. The other piece of it, what's interesting, is that the CDC has estimated that about 72.2% of all drug-related deaths that they're publishing are fentanyl-related.
Wow.
So if we take a conservative number and slash that down, and we always want to remain on the conservative side.
Right.
But if we only said 50% involved fentanyl, then we're looking at over 500,000 fentanyl injuries and deaths. And that's really on the conservative side.
And that is since when?
The problem is since 2013.
That's what I thought, yeah. Wow.
So what's crazy about this is that doesn't count the number of injuries that are non-lethal.
Right.
which is really where the true number is going to be found. We can look at as much of the mortality as we want, but the number we should be looking at is how many people are having these near deaths and drug injuries that require intervention.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to give you the true measure of the scope of this epidemic, and yet that's not the measuring tool that we're using.
Now, let me ask you something. If the person does not die from the fentanyl, but other damages, are the other damages, well, why don't you describe what other damages are, and are they long-term, or I think I know where you're going, but tell me what that is.
Well, one of the greatest damages that can occur is brain damage.
That's what I thought. Right.
The hypoxia and the lack of oxygen to the brain.
Right.
And do we have the statistic on the number of brain injuries that have resulted from fentanyl toxicity? The answer is no. We don't.
Right.
There's so much we don't know. And yet we continue to shift policy towards prescription, and that this entire thing is only existing within the substance use community. Now, that's not to say that they haven't been impacted. The very first wave of death came directly in the substance use community. And this is because the heroin was contaminated without their knowledge.
Right.
The opioid community was not in any way prepared to get heroin that suddenly had fentanyl in it. And this was a deception that was done on purpose. The cartels wanted to create fentanyl addiction in an already vulnerable population for money. And so what did they do? They started contaminating the first line was the heroin supplies. And so that's when we saw that massive first wave of death that started between 2013 to roughly 2015, early 2016. Right. And all of them, the majority of them were not straight heroin deaths. The majority of those deaths were fentanyl related.
Wow.
If those people had done exactly what they did prior to 2013, the majority of them would still be with us.
That's right. And now, and you know, I think that you would probably agree that this is not a red or a blue issue, but I'm about to say something that might make people think that it is. We now have a new administration that is changing things, let's just say. We don't know what the ramifications of this new border, I was going to say border control, lack of border control, but so it's a whole nother thing that's going to affect this. And we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, if you want to follow up on that one, and then I think this is going to be our last break, Virginia, and then we'll go right through to 7 o'clock. And I want you to share with us what you feel is most pertinent and action. And I think that's all part of your notes here as to what we can do. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Folks, we'll be right back with Virginia Krieger, speaking of the new paradigm. Besides my involvement in Prodigal recovery, I'm also in the construction business. I say that to say this. When we have tropical storms or hurricanes, the real hard, difficult, expensive, and dangerous work is usually the result of trees falling on homes or other personal property. Hurricane season is not the only time to get prepared for this. As a matter of fact, it's before and after hurricane season that you need to get prepared. My son Chris started his tree business called Climb Pro Expert Tree Care after Hurricane Florence. Chris has all the equipment and manpower to take on even the most challenging jobs. With over 20 years of combined experience, Climb Pro LLC can safely remove any unwanted hazardous trees from your property. They also offer tree pruning, elevation, dead wood removal, and other expert tree care services. Don't wait until you have a tree emergency. Visit climbpro.com, that's climb with a K. Check them out on Facebook or call Chris Marcley at 910-540-5249. Mention this ad for a 10% discount. Chris Baines and his team at Coldwell Banker Seacoast Advantage have been helping folks buy and sell homes and land in the area for over 20 years. With the support of a team, their clients enjoy the highest levels of success, communication, and protection. sellers will have their properties exposed to the most people to ensure the highest sales price. The marketing they use is designed to thoroughly expose the property with virtual walkthroughs and aerial drone shots. All of this is done for maximum exposure, but to also reduce the in-person traffic in these times of COVID. Home purchasers will have an attentive agent that focuses on their needs and helps locate properties quickly to avoid missing out, as we are in such a hot market right now. Additionally, they represent buyers that decide to purchase new construction, as the on-site agents represent the builder. Chris Baines and his team know how to listen and, just as importantly, know how to negotiate for the best interests of their clients. With a consultative approach, you can be sure they will look out for the best interests of their clients, or why the vast majority of their business comes from past clients and their referrals. Check out their reviews on Zillow, Google, and Facebook. You can reach their team at 910-333-2300 or check out their website at wilmingtonarearealestate.com. And welcome back to Recovering Hope. My name is still Mark Marcley, and again, it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you for tuning in, and we're going to continue our conversation with Virginia Krieger. Speaking of this new paradigm, there's so many factors that are changing the way people are dying, people are getting sick, and I think it's very, very important to know what's going on, particularly, but not limited to, maybe the younger group here that might take an occasional pill and think, what's the big deal? Well, Virginia's going to give us a little bit more about what that big deal is. Are you still there, Virginia?
I'm here. I was just kind of dancing a little bit to your Jay Giles music there.
Well, you can thank Joe for that. He's good with the music in there.
Yeah. So to continue to elaborate, so I went over the deception that was involved in the first wave of death with fentanyl, which came within the recovery community and the substance community. And so they became rapidly aware that fentanyl contamination was a problem.
Right.
And so, not that what didn't make it okay, it just because someone has substance use disorder does not give you permission to poison them through deception.
Right.
And so that was never addressed. It was never addressed. It was, and the general attitude was, they get what they deserve. They use the drugs, then, it's their fault.
Right.
Well, I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I strongly disagree with that.
Me too.
So then the second wave began, which we're in right now. So the only motivation there could have been to contaminate heroin with fentanyl was to create an addiction to fentanyl, which is a much stronger addiction than a heroin addiction. They need fentanyl more often, and any user can tell you this. It doesn't last as long, so they return more often. They buy more of it. And so there's this constant higher need level that exists and a stronger addiction that is much harder to break.
Is it also cheaper,
so
Virginia?
What's happened? Yes. From my understanding, it is, and it's especially for the manufacturers, the distributors, the cartels.
Right.
They don't have to grow a poppy field.
That's right.
They don't have to have workers to tend it.
Yeah.
They don't have to harvest. All they have to do is place an order, and China sends them the 4ANPP straight by ship to Mexico.
Wow.
And they do a one-pot method, and it's ready to hit the streets.
And the fact that it's cheaper makes it much more accessible and
exactly
exacerbating the problem.
And then the new dimension hit, which is the worst one. So, I suspect that they had killed off too much of their market share. And so what was the next level? Well, the next level was the counterfeit pills. And this is probably the most insidious of all, because now what they're doing is they're putting fentanyl in the form of what we have learned to depend on as being safe prescription medications, which are 100% predictable from pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
So they're creating the pills to look identical to those, to start to deceive people, healthy people, into addiction.
Right.
So in other words, we have the 15-year-old who orders a Xanax, and he's getting fentanyl, and maybe that pill isn't, fatal. But now what's happening is they're developing an addiction to fentanyl, in that 15-year-old
Mm-hmm.
without him even knowing that they're doing it. He
Right.
thinks he's getting a Xanax, he's getting a
Mhm.
fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we have this entirely new group of people who are completely unprepared for anything like this, and they're dying, and this is the fastest growing demographic for death right now,
Wow.
are in the casual user, first time user, and self-medicating
Wow.
demographics.
Now you
However,
said something interesting there. I'm sorry to jump in, but you said and he orders a Xanax, and this is places like Snapchat, right?
Snapchat,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Place your
Instagram.
order. Boy, oh boy. Talk about a dangerous world. My gosh. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, and it
Please
gets even
continue.
worse.
Yes.
It gets even worse.
Yeah.
Because you or I can right now go on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
We can order the pill presses. We can order the binding powders and everything we need to make a counterfeit pill. And there's absolutely no regulation on any of that.
Wow.
And so anybody can just go on there and buy everything they need to make these pills. And you can even buy the trademark pill dyes being sold on all kinds of websites.
I think I saw
Available.
that. I think Ed Bish had published something like that. Maybe it was you. Yeah.
It was me. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm constantly searching up these websites and to show people how bad this really is. And so now we've entered this new dimension of now what fentanyl has done is it did what no other drug has ever done before. It kills in microscopic amounts. And it kills with a single use. And then it hit the third thing no other drug has done before, and it leapt right outside of the substance use community and started affecting people and dying outside of it. That's never happened before. We've never had that model ever.
Right. Wow.
And so, and this is not to say, and I want to clarify to everyone listening, I am in no way minimizing anyone with a substance use disorder who has suffered because of this fentanyl.
No, that's
My own
right.
son nearly died from it.
Yeah.
I'm highlighting that, now we have another group
Yes.
that isn't predictable that has been thrown into the mix. And both are equally as tragic, and both are just reprehensible to me that our leadership has done nothing about it. When someone is given something, when it's disguised or hidden in anything you consume, and it's harmful to the human body, and that's a poisoning.
Right.
And so people continue to use this word overdose, and I dislike that intensely because the term overdose implies that you simply overdid it.
That's right.
You took too much. You weren't paying attention, whatever that may be, and that isn't what's happening.
No.
These people are drug-induced homicides.
Being poisoned.
They're being poisoned without their knowledge. And whether you have substance use disorder or not, that doesn't change it. It is still a homicide.
Right.
And so but then we come up against a wall because, what about that kid who just gave some to his friend? That's not the one we're talking about. We're talking about the people who are making this stuff.
That's right.
Who full well know that they're putting fentanyl in the product. And that's a problem. And so, but it continues to manifest, and everything that is being done on the federal level is either geared towards the substance use community, harm reduction principles, or prescriptions.
Yes.
That's it. They haven't even recognized the actual problem yet.
And the harm reduction fiasco is a whole nother conversation. Michael gave me an education on that, and I'm sure you know the nuts and bolts of it. Some of it's good, but some of it is definitely not.
And the only reason it's not is because of the current environment, and that's the distinction we have to make. I can view a great deal, and in fact, I'm supportive of a number of the practices that they want to put in place. Ending the stigma is an important factor.
Yes,
we have
it is.
to humanize this. But the one piece that's missing, and it's really, and Michael likes to say they've been a victim of their own success in this respect, is because they've only dealt with the plant-based drugs this entire time. So everything that they look at is through that lens. And so you can't really fault anyone for that. But then everything changed in 2013 and everybody's running to catch up.
Yeah, and that's not like it was yesterday. I think that there, should be some more catching up that has been done, and but that's what people like you and Michael are doing, and many others. I don't want to leave anybody out. There's so many people I've gotten to know, unfortunately, because of this, but everybody's doing their part. It's going to take a lot.
And that's going to be the hardest piece for all of us, is to just understand that fentanyl is a whole new problem. It needs to be handled differently. And so our effort is really to pull it away and set it aside in its own category, so that we can really look at this problem and address it in an effective manner. Then it's going to, endorse healing, of course, but also public protection for the general public, because it's so dangerous. And I want to just, to all the listeners out there, just so you can get a better picture of how much fentanyl it takes to take a life. If you have any artificial sweetener around, or the next time you go out to eat, grab one of those packets from the little cozy on the table, and dump it all out. Empty the whole packet. Then take your dry finger and rub it on the inside of the empty packet and pull it out. And what is on your finger is enough to kill you.
Wow.
That's the best illustration I can give. None of the visuals do it justice, and that is the closest one that you're going to find.
Yeah, I saw one. They have a penny on a table, and there's a, just to get the proportion, and there's a speck like not even the half the size of a grain of rice, maybe a lot smaller than that.
Yeah.
But that's why it puzzled me when you said that your daughter got pure fentanyl that was supposed to be a Percocet. That's a lot of fentanyl if it was all fentanyl. How could anybody survive that?
It's mostly binding powder.
Okay.
And then they have, what they'll do is they'll take this, they'll do a giant batch. And so when our pharmaceutical companies make pharmaceutical grade fentanyl, which, by the way, folks, all of our prescription grade fentanyl is made right here in the United States of America. We do not import it. And it's heavily controlled and managed.
Good.
So this is not prescription fentanyl. This is completely illegally manufactured and distributed fentanyl coming from China, who is giving federal tax rebates to their companies to make it. And they're still doing it to this day.
Wow.
Only months after they agreed to stop making it, a shipment of 25.7 tons of pure fentanyl was intercepted on a ship bound from China to the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico.
Wow.
So, they are no way out of the fentanyl production market yet, although we suspect that they may be pulling out now that the Mexican cartels have taken over, and they have. The main distribution point is Mexico to the U.S.
But it still comes from China? It all still comes from China, though?
Oh, yeah. China makes all the precursor chemicals. They ship it directly to Mexico. They have a one-pot method, and China trained them in how to do it. And so they have shifted over to fentanyl. That is the future, by the way, of the opioid market. It's going to be fentanyl all the time. And so it's critical for us to get on this now. In fact, sometimes I fear that we may be, despite our efforts, it may be too late to stop it from diversifying further in the global markets. But, we have great hope that we can still shut it down while it's just two entities.
Yes, but we still have
beyond that.
Yeah, we have to continue to educate people like this, so people will know.
Well, yes. And so, we have this. So the illustrations that they're giving you, that even that isn't really, doesn't give you a good visual. The crazy part about it, when they use the grains of salt, they use that as an example, but the difference between fentanyl and salt is granular. Right. Fentanyl is a fine powder.
Okay, I see.
So when you're talking about mixing it, they're taking, a big bag of fentanyl. They're taking a bag of binding powder. They're using a standard blender, and they're mixing it together, and then they're pressing pills. Michael has a chart that will show you what the concentration levels will be. So there could be 5 pills with just a little fentanyl in them, and then 50 pills with a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah. These aren't
because
exactly pharmacists doing this. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there's no standard. There's no quality. There's no. It's not a fully homogeneous mix, and so that's what makes it so incredibly dangerous. But the other piece of that still remains the insidiousness of deceiving healthy people into addiction through a fake pill. We've never had this happen before, and yet we still don't have public safety announcements. There should be public safety announcements everywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, I hope Nancy doesn't mind me bringing her name up, but Nancy Gray, Michael's wife, was the first person to say that. You know, I know everything I need to do for COVID, but I know nothing about the counterfeit prescription pills. There's been no announcements, nothing to warn the public. Why?
Yes.
And that's a really good question.
And when you compare these, let's call them both pandemics, drug deaths and COVID, everybody, like you said, everybody knows everything to do, at least what they're supposed to do for COVID. But, you know, as you just related, that very few people know what to do or how to recognize these pills. I'm just really somewhat overwhelmed. You know, the whole mixture of things. This paradigm that started 2013, 8 years ago.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes.
And then the old paradigm was bad enough. COVID, this new administration with open borders saying, come on, fellas, bring it in. And again, I'm not trying to get political here. I would say it if it was the other way around. I don't care about the color of their election button. But I don't think we've seen, I think you said this earlier, that we haven't seen the worst of this, as bad as it is.
No, we haven't. Not by a long shot. And here's the worst piece of this is that what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of the folks that are coming to our border they're not migrants. And I want to clarify that. A large majority of them are refugees of the undeclared cartel wars in Mexico and countries south of Mexico.
Wow.
The cartels, these are failed narco states. And what a narco state means for your listeners is it means that the law enforcement agencies, the government agencies, the military are all corrupted by drug trafficking networks.
Yeah.
Now, Mexico just removed all federal protection from our DEA agents who in Mexico trying to investigate these cartels and shut down these fentanyl supply lines. So right there, that tells you that the Mexican government has taken a position to protect the cartels and not their people. More than 10 million Mexican families have been displaced by cartel violence. They've had their homes taken from them, and they've had to run for their lives.
Wow.
And we've done nothing. We have done absolutely nothing to stop, as particularly the Sinaloa cartel, from rising to power and taking over. And all the border towns on the other side of what wall we do have are owned by the cartels. Those are not regular people living there. The real people have left.
Wow.
What is going on in Mexico is a tragedy of biblical proportions. The human atrocities that are taking place because of these violent, brutal drug trafficking organizations are comparable to what was going on in World War II Germany. Wow. I can't stress that enough. The people there are not that they are afraid, and they have every reason to be. I can't tell you how many babies and children our Border Patrol agents have intercepted who have been forced, the parents and the babies, forced to have drugs saran wrapped to their bodies.
Yes,
they've got
I've seen
fentanyl
that.
wrapped around them, crossing 160-degree desert. Because if they don't, they're not only going to kill them, they're going to kill everybody they love back home. And they aren't joking. Wow. They will do it.
Wow.
And so the human trafficking, they had in 2010, there was a busload of folks who were trying to make it to the U.S. The cartel intercepted the bus with semi-automatic weapons. They offloaded every passenger on that bus. I believe there were 79. They put them in a box truck. They took them to an undisclosed location, with a walled-in backyard. They told these men, join us or die, and when they refused to join, they murdered every one of them.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow.
There was one survivor who managed to escape.
And that's how we know.
To tell the tale.
Wow.
And I think it's the San Ysidro massacre. They even have a write-up about it on Wikipedia if people want to look that up. But this is the kind of people we're dealing with. And the scary part is that they have fully infiltrated. They are in every state, every county, and every city in the U.S. now. And unfortunately, the programs that happened in 2014 and the reinstatement of catch and release opened a doorway for them to get in here hidden among just the regular people who just wanted to get out of there. And so they blend in. You don't know who they are. Some of these girls that are with these cartels look like prom queens. You would never know that these girls have already murdered people.
Wow. Virginia, we've only got about 3 minutes left. And as far as taking action, I noticed that you included an overdose map in your notes. And I looked at that quickly before I came down here. But putting that aside for the moment, some action plans. What can we do? Couple of minutes.
Well, the first thing that we need to do is just to warn your family, warn your children.
Right.
Spread the word that these pills are not safe. The test strips are no guarantee of safety either. One portion of the pill might have fentanyl in it. Another portion won't.
Oh, so they have test strips to see if there's fentanyl in it?
Yes, but the test strips aren't reliable because of the distribution. Those test strips are made for something that is uniformly mixed.
I see.
These aren't uniformly mixed.
Okay, that's a very important point.
So
okay.
So I want people to know that if you're going to do that, the only way to truly know for sure is to dilute the entire pill or substance in water and test the water.
Yeah, okay, good point. Good point.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that there is a program called the Overdose Mapping and Tracking System that's mainly being used by law enforcement agencies. But what that is a real-time application that's filled out by first responders that tells you what the injury was, what the rapid test drugs were involved, and it gives you a real-time mapping of the number of, we'll call them overdoses, but I hate the word, drug injuries or overdoses that across the board, whether they're fatal or not fatal. If we start using that as our measurement tool, then we can finally understand the scope of the problem so we can start to properly address it. To fix any problem, we have to first identify what is the problem, how big is it, where is it coming from, and who is it being affected. And if we can identify all those things, then we can form an effective action plan. But in this epidemic, due to failures on every level, we still don't know the answers to some really critical questions like how many drug injuries are there in this country every day? Nobody knows. Why are our agencies unaware of the new population being infected? Nobody knows. Why have our responses only been geared towards old paradigm plant-based drugs when everybody knows that illicit fentanyl has been behind this for 8 years and nobody knows?
Let me ask you something else real quick, Virginia. I'm sorry, but this Fentanyl Awareness Coalition that I think you, Michael, a couple other people are part of, this is a coalition formed to kind of organize and get the important points out to take some actions. Is this something that's in the process of being formed, or is it already formed?
We are formed. We have right now we have about 12 affiliated affiliates. We have and we're kind of an umbrella organization. We're seeking new members who are organizations, and our only focus is on the illicit fentanyl issue right now.
Right.
A synthetic
well, good,
analog
because
for
we
the
need to
future.
focus. Right, and that was something that impressed me very much with you and Michael and what you're doing.
Oh, he's great. We have brought on some really, really wonderful people.
Good.
All of them, they kind of do their own thing, but on this one issue, we come together.
Good.
And so it's
do you know
helping us get
Diane
that
Urban?
message out. Oh, yes, she's one of our affiliates.
Okay, well, she's our guest next week. I believe she's
great.
the founder
She's
of
on the call.
Appalled. Yeah, Association of
Yes.
People Against Lethal Drugs.
That's correct.
And
So
we
we
can.
have Diane and Michael, and we have drug-induced homicide. Forgotten Victims of Drug-Induced Homicide is another one of our affiliates.
And I think last time I spoke to Michael, is there a website being formed, or is it already up?
It's almost done. and
Okay.
It's amazing. We got to
Okay.
look at the preview this
Good,
week. I was
good,
so
good.
happy with it.
Okay, and how can folks
and
get in touch
all
with
of the
you?
Information will be there. You can find me on Facebook, Virginia Krieger, Krieger.
Okay.
You can also find me at, we have a website, Parents Against Illicit Narcotics. That's my nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And it's www.p-a-i-n.us. The word pain with the dashes. You can also find me on Twitter under Virginia Krieger as well.
Okay. All right, we're out of time, I'm afraid,
I-
Virginia, but thank you so much. There's so much information here. I appreciate all the hard work that you have done and are doing, and I look forward to helping out any way that I can. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure. All right, folks, see you next week with Diane Urban and Appalled. Have a great night.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM,